Hello everyone. Tonight, we begin our journey in a place where the floors are dirt, the roof leaks smoke, and the air smells faintly of turnips, livestock, and last night's stew. You're a medieval peasant woman, and your morning begins not with a sunrise yoga stretch, but with a rooster screaming directly into your face. There's no mattress here, just a sack of straw, and maybe your youngest child curled beside you, drooling into your shoulder. Your joints ache before you even sit up. The stone floor is so cold it feels personal, and that draft slipping through the wattle and daub wall. Oh yes, that's winter reminding you it has no manners. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And don't forget, let me know your location and local time in the comments. It's always a strange joy to know where and when you're listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge barefoot across a frozen floor toward a door that groans worse than your back. Outside, the fog clings low over the field, and you can already hear the blacksmith's hammer echoing down the path. You have work to do. Not that you get paid, of course. You are the work. First things first, check the animals. The piglet you raised from a squealing pink bean now greets you by knocking over its own food trough. Chickens peck at your toes, annoyed that you're late. You scoop icy water from a half-frozen bucket, fingers burning, and pour it into shallow wooden pans. One goat tries to nibble your dress. Again. Your home is not quite a house, and not quite a barn. Think of it more as a smoky hut that's half human, half livestock, sharing heat, germs, and occasionally breakfast. There's no chimney, just a hole in the roof and a prayer the wind behaves today. When it doesn't, you spend hours coughing up ash. Historians still argue whether these homes had separate rooms or just one long smoky hall with makeshift dividers made of old cloth. Either way, privacy is mostly theoretical. You light a fire with flint straw and the last of the dry twigs, trying not to think about the fuel shortage. Dung will do, but it stinks, and not just the normal stink. There's a special flavor to burning waste that clings to your clothes like a bad marriage. Today you're expected to boil oats into porridge. The pot is iron and heavier than your infant, but you lift it because you have no choice. You hum to yourself. Not a song really, just something to keep the morning from being entirely silent and sad. One of your children coughs in the corner. That rattle again. You pause just for a breath to listen, but there's no time to linger. You have mouths to feed and a day to survive. Outside, the Lord's reeve strolls past counting animals like they're his, which in a way, they are. You nod politely. He doesn't nod back. You're just another shadow in the fog to him. Mainstream historical fact, most medieval peasants lived in single-room huts shared with animals during cold months with open hearths and no chimneys. Chronic exposure to smoke caused severe respiratory problems, especially for women who were indoors more often. A quirky tidbit. In some villages, roosters were used as rudimentary alarm clocks, not just by crowing, but by literally hopping onto beds. A rude, feathery wake-up call. The porridge finally bubbles. You scoop it into wooden bowls, blow on it, and call your children over by name if they're yours, or by nickname if they're neighbor kids who slept over again. No one waits to pray or savor. They slurp. Hunger doesn't like ceremony. Outside, a cart creaks by, and you can hear the tinkers shouting about knife sharpening. Tempting, but you can't spare the coin. You trade gossip instead. The neighbor's daughter is pregnant again. The baker's wife has a boil the size of a plum. The usual. You glance at the sun's angle. Time to get moving. Fields won't tend themselves, and neither will the spinning, the sowing, the children, the bread, or the endless aching life that stretches ahead like a dirt path that never curves. As you pull on your rough wool shawl and step into the muck, remember you're not just surviving. You're laying the foundation of an entire society. Quietly, invisibly, daily, and no one's writing your name down for it. You step out into the gray morning and the cold punches your ankles. The hem of your dress is already damp from yesterday's snow melt. You didn't get to dry it fully overnight. No one ever does. Laundry isn't a chore in this world. It's a form of soft penance. The frost crunches beneath your bare feet. No, you don't have boots. You had them once. They cracked apart after 3 winters, and nobody could afford new leather. So you wrap cloth around your toes like tiny shrouds and pretend it's enough. Spoiler, it's not. Your first job today is breakfast. Not yours. You've had your ladle of lukewarm porridge. This is for the animals again. You tie back your hair scratch at a flea bite near your ear and swing a bucket toward the well, hoping no one's already broken the rope again. They usually have. And that's when your fingers meet the rim of the bucket, icy, splintered, swollen from yesterday's freeze. And you realize today is going to be long. You haul water, carry firewood, and set oats to boil for the pig. You whisper the same curse you said yesterday. Let the fire catch this time. It does sort of. Good enough. Meanwhile, the air is thick with the smell of wet wool ash and something else. You sniff the pot again. Ah, mouse droppings. Delightful. It's not even mid-morning yet. Back inside, the children are squabbling over crust. You hand them each a hunk of bread that's more mold than grain, and then pretend not to notice the youngest licking the soot off his fingers. He thinks it's pepper. You don't correct him. Let him dream. Then comes the daily trek, your milkmaid march. You hoist a pail of sloshing goat milk and start the half-mile trudge to your neighbor's stead for a trade. 1 pail of milk for 2 loaves of coarse rye. A good deal, assuming the neighbor doesn't accuse you of watering it down again. She might. She always does. Your arms ache before you've left the yard. The pail is iron. The mud is ankle deep. A chicken has decided to escort you, pecking at your feet like a nervous guard dog. You pass the same field where old Nan slipped and cracked her hip last spring. She never really walked again, and her son now carries her like a sack from room to room. That's your future if you're lucky enough to make it past 40. Historians still argue whether peasant women regularly traveled alone across open land, or if most tasks were done in pairs or groups. But what they agree on is this: the labor was relentless, and the risk, whether wolves or wandering men, was real. Mainstream historical fact. Medieval women frequently walked miles daily to tend fields, collect water, or trade goods, often while carrying tools infants or livestock feed. It wasn't rare. It was life. Quirky tidbit. There were real village complaints logged about noisy milkmaids accused of singing too loudly during their errands. Some things never change. As you walk, you keep your eyes down. That's not modesty, it's self-preservation. Tripping means a wasted pail and wasted food. And when food is survival, mistakes are luxuries you can't afford. You arrive, nod silently to the other woman, swap milk for bread, and accept the usual passive-aggressive comment. Bit thin today, isn't it? You smile. She scowls. Barter is rarely friendly. You know the script. Back home, the sun is higher, which means it's time for spinning flax into thread, while also keeping your toddler from eating rocks and your eldest from stabbing the firewood with your good knife. There's no multitasking. There's just surviving 3 lives at once: laborer, caretaker, and silent accountant of everything that's running out. You glance at your thread, it's uneven again. Too thin in places, too clumpy in others. You sigh and start over, knowing your husband will curse if you don't make enough to trade for salt by Sunday. Then your youngest starts crying. You wipe your hands on your apron, scoop him up, and whisper a lullaby made of nonsense syllables. It works for now. You're grateful. You'll forget the words by tomorrow and make up new ones. Songs aren't meant to last. Only chores do. You sit by the window hole, a jagged rectangle patched with animal gut, and let a shard of sunlight warm your fingers. It's a small stolen moment, a secret treaty with the sky. Until the goat escapes again. Of course it does. You groan, drop the spindle, and run after it barefoot into the thawing field, the grass wet, the sky wide, your dress dragging behind like a tired flag. And as you wrestle the goat back toward the fence, mud on your knees, hair in your mouth, hands scratched by brambles, you start to laugh. It's the kind of laugh that no one hears. The kind that means you're not broken, just adjusting. You finally wrestle the goat back behind the fence again, and it looks at you with the smug satisfaction of a creature that knows you can't afford to eat it. Not yet. Not until winter truly hits and there's no other choice. You pat its flank anyway, partly in affection, partly to make sure it's still fatter than your neighbor's. And then, without any ceremony, you get moving. There's no time to sit, no time to rest. Today you've been tasked with the milk run for the manor, and if you're late, the steward will dock your family's grain ration. Again, you grab the wooden yoke and the 2 iron pails. Each still has the morning's milk faintly warm, faintly sour, and already attracting the attention of flies. You lift the yoke onto your shoulders and begin your march across the rutted village path, your arms stretched like a scarecrow. And your pace steady, not too fast, or it'll splash out. Not too slow, or you'll be accused of laziness. The road is mud. Always mud. The sun bakes it into cracked clay in the dry months, but now sludge. Thick, clingy, shoe-stealing sludge. You've long since stopped trying to keep your feet clean. There's no point. Dirt is part of your wardrobe. You pass the field where the older women are stooped, gathering nettles for soup. Someone waves. You nod back. Conversation can wait. Balance comes first. A dog barks. A child screams. Someone's sheep has gotten loose again. This is not chaos. It's harmony, peasant style. Every noise means someone's alive and moving. Quiet is the thing you fear. As you round the edge of the village, a cart barrels past you, nearly tipping your pail. It's the reeve again, grinning as he rides by. His horse splashes mud up your skirt. You mutter a curse beneath your breath, nothing loud enough to be heard, of course. You need your portion of oats this week. Mainstream historical fact. Peasant women were often tasked with transporting goods between homes, manors and markets, sometimes over several miles. Carrying milk ale or bread in heavy containers using wooden yokes was typical for rural life in medieval Europe. Quirky tidbit. Some villages used sheep's bladders tied to sticks as makeshift paddles to swat away flies from food during transport. Innovation is relative. You finally arrive at the manor's side kitchen. The cook, a woman with arms like cured hams and a voice like thunder, inspects the milk. She dips a wooden spoon, sniffs, squints. Bit thin, she mutters. You smile politely, resisting the urge to ask if she's ever milked a goat midwinter while being pecked by a rooster. Probably not. She tosses you a piece of black bread as payment. It's hard enough to chip a tooth on, but you nod gratefully, pocket it, and begin the long walk home. On your way back, you stop at the stream. Not because you want to, but because your hands still smell like goat and you're supposed to help prepare the noon meal. You scrub quickly, glancing around for privacy. A pair of boys are throwing stones at frogs. Typical. You remember the story your grandmother told about how frogs used to be witches in disguise spying on people. You don't believe it, but you also don't not believe it. You whisper an apology to the nearest frog just in case. Historians still argue whether peasant belief in magical creatures like fairies and frog spirits was truly widespread or exaggerated in clerical records. But one thing's certain: when life is hard, it helps to think someone's listening. By the time you reach home, your arms are trembling, your back aches, and your left foot has gone numb. Again. Your mother-in-law greets you with a sigh, takes the bread, and immediately starts slicing it into impossibly thin pieces. There are 9 mouths to feed today. 10 if you count the Reeves' cousin who's just visiting, but has been sleeping on your floor for a week. You rinse the pots, start peeling the turnips, and stir the barley stew, same as yesterday, same as tomorrow. Your eldest daughter appears at your elbow, holding a crude doll made of straw and scraps. She asks if it can have a name. You blink. You haven't thought about naming things in months. You've been too busy keeping real creatures alive. Call her Muck, you say, smiling. She giggles. It's the best sound you've heard all day. Then it's back to the chopping block, the stew pot, the hearth. Always the hearth. Always the heat and the smoke and the slight burn on your fingertips. You can't afford not to be careful. But you also can't afford to slow down. By midday, you've done more labor than most modern humans do in a week. And there are still hours to go. You glance toward the sun. It's high. No shadows yet. That means more hauling, more cooking, more children, and joy of joy's laundry. Because what you really wanted after balancing 100 pounds of milk across the village was to scrub your family's undergarments in cold river water while your fingers slowly turn blue. But hey, at least the goat hasn't escaped again. Yet, the sun sits like a judgmental yoke high above you, and you're back in the yard with a sack of damp clothes slung over one shoulder, already heavier than you remember. Laundry day isn't once a week, it's every day. Or your hut will smell like a compost heap stuffed inside a sheepskin sock. Again. Your laundry kit is simple: a big wooden tub of lye-based soap that smells faintly like someone's sins and your own 2 hands. No scrubbing board, no gloves, no sympathy from anyone. You kneel by the tub and get to work elbows deep in a mess of tunic shifts and unmentionables that haven't been washed since the last rainstorm, which honestly did half the job for you. A nearby hen stares at you with more judgment than a priest. You stare back. Neither of you breaks the gaze. But she clucks first. You win. Now here's the part no one talks about rest days. Or more accurately, the lack of them. You've heard whispers of holy days, saints' days, or feast days times when the church says you can take it easy. But as a peasant woman, rest just means your chores shift from one flavor of exhaustion to another. Today it's laundry. Tomorrow, threshing. Sunday, you're in church by dawn, then cooking for a visiting cousin by noon, then mending your husband's socks while he dozes. Historians still argue whether peasant women truly labored 7 days a week, or if religious festivals genuinely offered respite. But many believe days off were largely theoretical for women, especially mothers. You wring out a linen shift and slap it over a wooden rail. It slumps like you do, tired, damp, and vaguely hopeless. Then it's back to the grind. Quite literally. You hoist a stone hand mill and start grinding dried grain into flour. It takes longer than you think, and your arms already feel like jelly from the milk pail walk earlier. No one tells you that your biceps will rival the blacksmith's by age 25. But they will. Mainstream historical fact. Peasant women were responsible for most domestic and agricultural labor, from grinding grain and baking bread to tending gardens, animals, and children. Rest days were minimal and often filled with alternate duties like mending, trading, or assisting neighbors. Quirky tidbit: some medieval villages had informal competitions between households for the whitest laundry hung on the hedges, despite everyone using the same ash soap and river. After grinding, it's bread time. You knead dough that's more oat than wheat, more roughage than delight. You shape it with cracked fingers and a prayer that it won't come out flat again. Flat bread is a neighborhood insult. Your husband won't say it, but you'll see it in his eyebrows. You stoke the hearth, no oven, just a hot stone and hope. While the dough bakes, you check the garden. Not a proper garden, of course, just a sliver of dirt near the back fence where you've coaxed turnips, beans, and what might be a cabbage if you squint and believe in miracles. You chase off a rabbit, then shout at the neighbor's goat again. It bleats, unimpressed. Your eldest daughter appears this time, holding your sewing needle snapped in half. "Oh," she says very softly. "I stepped on it." You sigh. Needles are like gold. There's no store to buy more. You'll have to ask the blacksmith again and offer him something in return. Probably extra candles, or a jar of pickled onions, or one of your husband's old socks if the man is feeling lonely. You pat her head. She hugs your leg. You let yourself enjoy that for half a second before the fire crackles ominously behind you and you remember the bread. You sprint. Too late. It's black on the bottom again. You scrape it and call it crusty. No one will question you, not out loud. By mid-afternoon, your dress is soaked in sweat. Your back feels like someone planted stones in it, and your stomach's growling again. The burned bread will do. You dip it in broth. It softens. Sort of. You sit on a stool for the first time today. Not for long, just enough to exhale and stretch your neck. Your youngest waddles over with a grubby carrot and a beaming smile. You accept both like they're holy relics. In a way they are. But just as you consider closing your eyes, you hear the village bell. You groan. It's time to gather for the field tally. Every adult has to be there or pay a fine in barley. You stand knees cracking like dry sticks and head toward the square. It's muddy. Of course it is. You try to skirt a puddle fail and accept your fate. You don't flinch anymore. The mud is family now. As you approach the crowd, you adjust your headscarf, tightly wrapped, slightly frayed, and definitely judged by the baker's wife. She gives you a once-over. You give her a twice-over. And then you both turn to face the steward, who is already reading off names and crop counts. He never smiles. You never listen too hard. But you nod when you're supposed to. Because that's what survival looks like. You smile with cracked lips. You stand straight despite the ache. You endure. And if someone calls you lazy again, well, maybe you'll just let the goat out on their turnip patch next time. You leave the field tally just as the sun starts to dip, casting long shadows across the rutted ground. Your name's been marked down, your household counted, and your share of the village's collective labor is now etched into memory. And now back home, a pile of tasks awaits. The hearth's gone cold, someone spilled the salt jar, and you discover to no one's surprise that a rat has chewed through your sack of dried peas. You mutter something under your breath that would get you a week's penance if the priest heard it. But the rat didn't. Your husband arrives through the door with mud-caked boots and the smell of sweat in the air. He says nothing at first, just drops his sack of tools in the lap and stares at the patch on the floor. Then comes the classic peasant melody. Is that all it is? You resist the urge to throw a spoon at it. There, he sits. You lay down stew, thin, and hot. Meat, children. The pig squeals squeals indignantly from the corner, jealous. But just as you settle into the rhythm of evening, he leans back and grunts, "Firewood's low. You'll need to fetch more tomorrow." Firewood's. Tomorrow. When you weren't already scheduled to repair the chicken hutch grind oats and patch your eldest's tunic. But here's the kicker, you will do it. Because that's how your world works. You're expected to handle everything and be pleasant about it. Or at least silent. It's called your station. And it was decided for you the moment you were born with a wound and not a sword. Tonight, once dinner's done, and the bowls are licked nearly clean, your husband does what he thinks is helpful and falls asleep. That's your cue. You begin the night shift. You start with the mending socks with holes of shawl that's unraveling, and your daughter's dress with the neckline chewed by a goat you hope it was a goat. You stitch under candlelight, squinting the wax dripping like it's trying to race your patience. Your daughter snores softly on a straw mat. You glance at her for a moment, and something shifts, some odd mixture of pride and fatigue. She's already helping with chores, already asking questions about marriage even though she's been alone. And that brings us to another not-so-chaste reality. See, in your world, your gown is tightly braided with your body, and not in the way modern ears might assume. It's not about attraction. It's about labor and lineage. You're expected to be strong enough to haul water and docile enough to birth 5 children before your bones crumble. Marriage isn't a romance. It's an agreement. Sometimes arranged. Sometimes rushed. Always binding. Your own wedding, you barely remember it. A feast with watery ale, a priest who mispronounced your name, and a goat that wouldn't stop bleeding through the ceremony. You bred quietly that night. No one asked if it hurt. No one cared. Mainstream historical fact. Peasant women in medieval Europe were generally married in their mid-teens and expected to bear multiple children while also maintaining domestic and agricultural duties. Marriage was more an economic arrangement than an emotional bond. Quirky tidbit. In some regions, a woman could be legally married simply by declaring mutual consent in front of witnesses. No priest, no paperwork, just, "I take you and hope your father didn't find out." Historians still argue whether peasant women have more autonomy in choosing their husbands than we do. Some evidence suggests village girls could exert subtle influence through gossip networks, whispered alliances, and passive resistance. But autonomy didn't mean freedom. It meant negotiation within a cage. Back in your hut, the mending is done. You snuff the candle. You lie down. But you don't sleep. Because your youngest is teething and waiting. And because you still have tomorrow's list of words crowding your mind like unwelcome guests. You cradle your baby in the dark, rocking gently. The wooden bed creaks. Outside, you hear the wind pushing against the hut like it's testing your walls for weakness. You hum. And the lullaby just a steady note low like a heartbeat. The baby quiets. You lean your head back and close your eyes for wonder. That's when your husband snores and kicks your shin. You don't scream. You just blink. Because even the wonder is tight. Sleep comes slowly, honey and winter thick and light. And just as it begins to wrap around you, a dog barks in the distance, and the fire pops a spark into the dark, and the pig shuffles under its blanket of straw. And you remember you still haven't cleaned the chamber top. Of course, you sigh. Because this is your life, not a tragedy, not a fairy tale. Just the daily, bone-deep truth of being a woman in a world where chaste means quiet, and work means everything. And you, against every rule and expectation, are still here. Still alive. Still tougher than you ever knew. Morning again. It arrives not with a song, but with the choking cough of your eldest child and the smell of wet soap. The fire burned too low overnight, and now the hearth is cold. So is everything else, your feet, your breath, your bones. You rise with a breath. No one is still. You like it that way. For the first few minutes of the day, you move alone in the shadows, resetting the world, stoking the coals, nudging the sleeping pig, checking to see if last night's bed is still out there. Your hands are cracked from the cold, and scrubbing and always scrubbing. You wince as you pick up the pot. It's still warm barely. Smell mercy. Today will be different. Today someone's sick. It starts with a rattle in the chest and ends with fever shaking and prayers that go unanswered. Your youngest has that rattle now. So does the neighbor's boy. You saw his mother at the well yesterday, her eyes glassy, her voice drawn thin. You've seen enough fevers to recognize when they're in trouble. And so begins the other side of your job, unofficial dangers and whispered about, concerns medicine. You're not a physician. Those are for rich people and dead people. You're something in between, heartful, the fever watcher, the one who remembers which leaves make you sweat and which ones make you sleep. Your herb stash is hidden under the floorboards, not because it's illegal, but because it's suspicious. The priest once warned against idle remedies of women. You nodded and kept doing it anyway. Today you boil elderberry and thyme drop and 2 cloves of garlic and mash it all into a syrupy sludge and force down your son's throat. He dies. You stroke his hair and whisper, better than dying. Mainstream historical fact. Most medieval peasants had no access to formal physicians. Medical care was provided by women using herbs, superstition, and shared knowledge passed orally between generations. Many cures were practical, others were ritualistic. Quirky tidbit. One popular cold remedy involved tying a slice of bacon to the soles of the feet and reciting the Lord's Prayer backward. The bacon didn't help, but the prayer might have depending on who you asked. Historians still argue whether women's folk medicine was persecuted as witchcraft or merely sidelined by the growing power of male physicians. In most villages, it was simply tolerated until someone died. You crush more herbs, soak a rag in warm water, and press it to your son's forehead. He flinches. You don't. You've done this before. Then comes the broom. You take it outside and sweep the doorstep. Not because it's dirty, everything is dirty, but because it's symbolic. A clean threshold means no death today. It's old magic. You don't know if it worked, but you keep doing it. A neighbor approaches red-eyed, clutching her shawl like it's the only thing holding her together. Her mother's dying. She wants you to come. You say yes. Of course you do. You leave your daughter in charge. She puffs up like a chicken trying to be fierce. The dying woman's hut is 3 homes over. You enter quietly, respectfully. The air is thick-heavy with the smell of damp wood, fear, and something else. You glance at the woman. Her lips are cracked. Her hands twitch. You whisper a blessing. Not one from church, one from the mother's mouth, back when you still believe it. And then something. You mix herbs, dab her lips, hold her hand. And then, because you know what else, helps you open the door. Just a little. Let the bad spirits out. It's silly. It's useless. It's hope. She passes at sundown. You help wrap her body. You help close her eyes. You don't cry until you're alone again, kneeling at your own hearth, eating twigs to a reluctant friend. Your husband doesn't ask for any way. He's too busy nursing his own with the splinter gone along his thumb and his swelling away. You offer to lance it. You refuse it. You let it. The children are quiet tonight. Even the pig doesn't shuffle. You sit in the silence and sort your words again. One for fever, one for bleeding, use that last one. But you keep it. For bad nights. You glance at the ceiling and soot drips like milk from the lamp. You whisper a prayer not to saints, not to God, but to the women who came before you. The ones who knew about fever and childbirth and to stop pain. You are one of them now. Congratulations. You didn't ask for this role, but you wear it like a sacred flame. Quiet fear. Fear of God. Ghost mother. Goat chaser. Gift giver. And when your daughter curls beside you and sleep and murmurs, "Mama, are you magic?" You smile. Because maybe you are. Just don't tell the priest. By morning, the fever's broken, at least in your own home. Your youngest is flushed, but breathing easier. His breath no longer rattles like loose pebbles in a dream. You press your hand to his forehead, and for the first time in 3 months, it feels cool. You smile cautiously. Fevers are like men in taverns living, but sometimes unlikely, drunker and louder than before. You step outside to fetch water, and already the village is moving. The neighbor's mother, the one you sat with, has been buried before breakfast. Just a plain wooden box and a prayer over damp soil. There's no time to mourn properly when the animals defeated and fields to plow. And that's when it hits you. The whisper. They always come after the death. She was with her at the end. She gave her time. She opened the window. You stir the well bucket slower than usual. Let the rope unwind softly like you're not listening. But you are. Every syllable. You've lived this before. Because in the hierarchy of peasant survival, there's a line between helper and heretic. And it's about as wide as a chicken farm. Your work heals. Your work soothes. Your work is barely tolerated. But if someone dies, especially if they die badly, then suddenly your remedies become potions, your herbs become omens, and your tired eyes become witches' milk. Mainstream historical fact. In medieval Europe, women were the primary providers of folk remedies and domestic health care. But they often operated under suspicion, especially during illness outbreaks and unexplained deaths. Quirky tidbit. In some villages, healers were required to swear before a priest that they hadn't spoken to spirits or buried any charms before being allowed to treat the sick. A bureaucratic witch hunt by candlelight? Historians still argue whether peasant communities truly feared their own healers, or whether the fear was stoked by church authorities trying to consolidate power. But from your place in the mud, the suspicion feels all too real. By mid-morning, a child throws a stone at your door. It doesn't break anything, just startles you. You look outside. He's already running. You don't chase him. You don't need to. He's parodying what his mother muttered over there. You sweep your threshold again, just in case. You busy yourself with spinning flax, simple, honest work. Your fingers move on their own, now twisting and pulling, letting the spindle drop and hum. It keeps your hands busy and your mind from spiraling. Because gossip is like that spindle, once it drops, it spins faster than it can catch. Later, you walk to the edge of the village to gather nettles moving slowly basket in hand. You avoid them on the road. You stick to the hedgerow paths. Less chatter, more being. You come across old Marta. She's sitting by a tree humming a funeral chant under her breath while darning socks. She was the village midwife before her legs gave out. She sees you and crooks a smile like she's just spotted an old broom she once rode into battle. You still hearing them? She asked. You nod. Somehow. She chuckled. Good. Means they haven't came to you. You sit beside her. The sun is soft today, filtered through clouds that look like wet wool. Together you sort herbs. You don't speak much, but you trade a root for a sprig and a story for a silence. That's what women like me do. We form alliances through breath and stitch not sword and knife. Back at home, the feverish whispers of time. Someone's ox got me, and the youth's cousin fell into a dung pit, newer, fresher gossip all at hands. But still, you move carefully. You don't smile too long. You don't speak too loud. You blend like rosemary in a stewed present, but not show. Your daughter helps you prepare supper. She asks why you burn dried rosemary on the hearth. You tell her it's for smell, and for sickness, and for spirits. She nods like she understands all three. Then she leans in and asks, "Are we witches?" And you pause wooden spoon in her. You smile. "No," you whisper. "We're just weird." What's worse? She laughs a full giggle that shakes her curls. And you realize she's watching everything. The way you treat the sick, the way you ignore insults, the way you breathe deeply before entering any room. She'll grow up into her own story, but parts of yours will cling to her like the scent of lime on wine. That night, as the stars press down and the air grows heavy, you leave a bundle of herbs on your windowsill. Not because you believe in magic, but because it doesn't hurt. And because in a world that constantly threatens to call you dangerous, it's comforting and even brave to be a little mysterious. Night falls with a quiet that doesn't feel peaceful or suspicious. The sky is cloudless, the wind still. You know this kind of stillness. It's the kind that comes before someone screams, or before the thatch roof starts leaking, or before your neighbor's son gets caught sneaking into the air store. Nature doesn't trust silence, and neither do you. You've kept the hearth lit, though barely. The firewood pile is shamefully small. It was your husband's job to restock it, but his thumb is still swollen from that splinter, and he swears it's not safe to chop wood right now. Convenient. You don't argue. You just make do as usual. The fire flickers, and you pull your shawl tighter, sinking to the ground to know the terror of your own evidence. The pig snores lightly in the corner, its body worth more than its meat for now. One of the children is already asleep, mumbling, curled up beside a sack of hay. And outside, darkness. Pure and unbroken. You reach for a tallow candle lighter and place it by the door. A small pool of safety. A boundary of sorts. Because tonight, there's no lock. No bolt. Just the hope that whoever walks past your door keeps walking. Mainstream historical fact. Most medieval peasant homes lacked locks or any real form of nighttime security. Doors were sometimes barred with wood or stone, but the concept of personal safety at night was more spiritual than physical prayers charms, and community vigilance filled the gap. Quirky tidbit. In some villages, people smeared ashes across their threshold at night to track footprints the next morning, checking for thieves' spirits or just overly curious pigs. Historians still argue whether the perceived threat of nighttime attacks was greater than the reality. But for women, fear didn't need to be justified, it just needed to be constant. You lie down finally beside your daughter. She rolls into you like she's always known where you've been. Her hair smells like smoke and milk. You kiss the top of her head, even though she's already asleep. Then you close your eyes. And that's when the noise comes. And you scream. No. Knock. 3 knocks, slowly. You're not expecting anything. It's far too late, isn't it? Your husband stirs but doesn't wake. You sit up heart racing, not in terror, but in calculation. If it's the reeve, you pretend to be sick. If it's the priest, you cover your hair. If it's someone drunk, you don't open the door at all. You creep toward the candle, pick it up and listen. Silence. You wait. And just as suddenly a voice, thin, raspy, a little help, please. It's old Mother. You throw the door open fast enough to scare the kid. Marta stands there hunched, holding a cloth-wrapped bundle that smells like blood. For your boy, she knows. In case the fever returns. You blink. How did you know? She shrugs. I remember the way. You take the bundle. She disappears into the dark without waiting for thanks. You don't question her guilt. You simply tuck it under your son's pillow. You don't know if it's medicine or magic. It doesn't matter. Because in this world, both are acts of love. Later, you tend the fire again, feeding it a single stick at a time, stretching what little warmth you can. You shift the children, wrap your shawl around the smallest, and finally settle into your straw mat. You feel every pebble, every bone in your body hums like it's been carrying bricks, probably because it has. And then the pig farts. Loudly, you suppress a laugh. Barely. Because honestly, the pig is family. You fall asleep with a small rash in your wool at your neck, and your mind ticking through tomorrow's to-do list like a church bell you can't sound. Before the dreams come, you have one final thought. This life is hard, but so are you. And in the dark, with your family wrapped around you, and the world kept at bay by a few embers and a single cracked door, you feel. Not happiness, not safety. Something older. Endurance. Morning breaks, not with light. But with a sound you dread more than into your sister-in-law yelling your name from the yard. You know that tone. It's not urgent. It's worse, it's expectant. She's come to collect you for a birth. You throw on your shawl and step out before the rooster can clear his throat. The cold nips your ankles and the world smells like wet hay and milk. You don't bother with breakfast. Birth waits for no one, not even the midwife's helper, who didn't know she'd be one. The woman in labor is young, far too young. Her eyes are wide, her hands shaking, her mother gone 3 winters now. You remember your own first birth crouched in a barn, with nothing but a damp rag and the whispered advice of a neighbor who never quite forgave you for stealing her buttermilk. You roll up your sleeves. The girl is already moaning the baby coming fast. You whisper nonsense into her ear, wipe her forehead with a damp cloth, and brace yourself. The room is tight. The air smells of sweat and sour milk. There's no privacy or guilt. Just pain and grit and salt sun. Mainstream historical fact. Childbirth in medieval peasant communities was typically overseen by other women, usually older, experienced mothers or informal midwives. Physicians rarely attended births unless the woman was of noble rank or near death. Quirky tidbit. Some midwives tied iron keys or knives under the birthing stool to cut the pain and keep evil spirits away. It was symbolic, but taken very seriously. Historians still argue whether midwives were respected or merely tolerated. In rural communities, they were often seen as essential, yet always teetering on the edge of suspicion, especially if something went wrong. The baby comes fast with a cry that's more muted than scream. Our girl, you clean her with warm cloth and herbal oil that smells faintly of mint and cleansing. She's small but strong. You wrap her tight whisper, something old, over her head, and place her into your mother's trembling arms. And just like that, you help another woman survive the most dangerous dream of her life. For now, you walk home slowly. Your arms ache, your knees feel like twilight at the sleep, and the after image of blood dances within your eyes. The village bell rings noon, and your stomach reminds you that you've slept 2 meals already. You ignore it. Your daughter runs to greet you breathless with excitement. The priest came, she answers. He wants to bless the baby in the fields. What baby is the one next door? She was born last night. They waited for me to walk by. No. Of course, that child, the sickly one with a crooked spine, had been carrying a child of her own, and no one said a word. Now it's your job to carry her infant to the church wrapped in linen, still slick with blood. Why the rush? Because she isn't expected to live. It's a harsh truth if a newborn dies unbaptized, it can't be buried in holy ground. Can't rest properly. So you run. For heaven. You wrap the baby tongue, hold her close, astride of the church. The door creaks open the stone floor, icy even through your shoes. The priest mumbles the words, barely looking at you as he sprinkles cold water over the tiny head. The baby cries. You too. The ritual lasts less than a minute. You're so thankful. The priest nods, already distracted by a ledger he can't afford to misplace. You walk the infant back, returning her to her mother, who looks surprised she's still breathing. So are you. That night you light a candle for no one in particular. Maybe for that baby. Maybe for the ones who didn't cry. Maybe for the part of you that wishes childbirth didn't feel like a coin toss played by the sky. You sit by the fire with your eldest, showing her how the blood rushes into your eyes. She's getting better. Her fingers move fast, sharp, careful. She asks if you were scared as you were falling. No, I was. Not just of the pain, but of fear. And in this days, grinding on me. The fear of loving someone too much in the world, everyone in the world. You lean over, kiss the top of her head, and say, I did it anyway. And she nods, as if she understands. She will. You're 14, maybe 15. And they'll tell you you have marriageable life. I'm not sure what that means exactly. But you know it comes with fewer choices and more chores. One day you're helping your mother churn butter. The next, you're being asked if your dowry includes a goat or just a half share in a cow that won't milk properly. That's how it starts. Your father says it kindly, as if offering an invitation. There's a boy from the next village. Good hands, strong back. His family's not down near the river. You know it. Not because you agree, but because the alternative is argument. And no one wins an argument they didn't ask to be made. The boy arrives a week later. He smells like onions and sweat and says 3 words to you in a flat mouth. You're holding a basket, not plating anything but you smile anyway. By the end of the month, you're married. No dress, no feast. Just a walk to the priest, a muttered blessing, an awkward hush of 2 strangers, realizing they've been merged like mismatched spoons. Mainstream historical fact. Peasant marriages in medieval Europe were often informal, arranged by families, and focused on economics, land, livestock, labor. Church weddings were preferred, but not always required. Many couples simply declared their union before witnesses. Quirky tidbit. In some villages, a marriage could be sealed by the couple sharing bread and ale together in public. That was it. If you both nodded congratulations, you were legally bound. Historians still argue whether peasant women had agency in choosing their spouses. Some documents show girls refusing suitors, but the power to say no often depended on your family's standing your inheritance or lack of one, and whether the local reeve owed your uncle a favor. Your new home is smaller than the last. Fewer siblings, more silence. Your husband doesn't talk much. He works hard and expects meals to appear like spells while he's hot to without complaint. He means well. Probably. But meaning well doesn't fetch water, keep the children alive, or stop him from drinking away the rent goat at the harvest season. Yes, the rent goat. The one you were married for, you remind him. He laughs. Says you're good at remembering things. As if that's a fault. Some nights, he's jacket. Other nights, he's tired and clumsy and doesn't wait for your breath to catch up. There's no word for consent, just the unspoken rule you belong to him now. And the church backs him up. You go to Mass every Sunday. You sit where the women sit back low sideways near the door in case one of the children starts wailing. You listen to the priest talk about obedience, patience, and virtue. You nod. Sometimes you even believe him. Then you go home, milk the goat, and scrape burnt stew from the pot. Because someone has to. There are days when you fantasize about freedom without fear. An hour without question. A meal you don't have to share. A moment where your body is just ready. Instead, you have children. The first one arrives screaming. The second one doesn't scream at all. The third is born young and lives longer than anyone expected. The fourth you don't talk about. Your husband tries in his way. He fixes the door. Once he brought you a hair ribbon found in the woods, muddy but sweet. But more often he disappears into the tavern returns with slurred words and hands that don't always know their strength. You never tell anyone. No one asks. Mainstream historical fact. Under medieval law, wives were considered subordinate to their husbands, with limited legal recourse for mistreatment. Domestic violence was rarely prosecuted unless it resulted in death or public scandal. Quirky tidbit. In some rare cases, women filed complaints against their husbands in local courts for neglecting them or failing to provide meat on feast days. These were less about love and more about contractual failure. Historians still argue how widespread spousal abuse was among peasants, but nearly all agree that women had little protection unless their family intervened or unless the whole village turned against the man for unrelated reasons. You get by. You laugh in the pain. You sing while baking bread, not because you're happy, but because it drowns out the quiet. You hold your children close, watch them play in the mud chase. Chickens ask impossible questions like, do the stars have names? You make up names. You point to the sky and say, that one's mother's needle. That one's little pig's eye. They believe you. You almost do too. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, when your husband snores and your body sores and the wind hisses through the gaps in the wall, you press your fingers to your stomach and whisper, I am still here. Unhappy? Not so. But still here. And in this life, it's something like victory. It starts small. A pinch of flour from the room storage site. A second crust of bread tucked away from yesterday's rations. A few onions and cream spoiled but clean and boil anyway. A length of thread a merchant wouldn't miss. Little things. Survival things. Harmless things. But you know what they are, rebellions. Not the kind that make it into history books. Not swords and banners and barricades. These rebellions live under fingernails and behind closed mouths. They grow in corners and pockets and between glances exchanged over the communal baking hall. Today your rebellion is yeast. You're supposed to buy it from the baker's wife, but hers has gone sour lately and she overcharges besides. So you do what your mother taught you. You scrape the brown foam off a mug of ale and fold it into your dough with a whispered hope that it rises. It does. It rises like pride. You bake 4 loaves. Keep 3. Trademark, the baker's wife here. She glares at you across the square aisle, folded like a judgment. You pretend not to notice. Pretend you don't see her whispering to the seamstress, who whispers to the thatcher's daughter, who whispers to the priest. Mainstream historical fact. Women in medieval villages were responsible for making and selling ale and bread until their success threatened the local guilds and male tradesmen who lobbied to restrict and criminalize their labor. Quirky tidbit. In several English villages, women were fined for ale of inferior quality or for selling bread at an improper weight charges often based on hearsay spite or the desire to control the market. Historians still argue whether such regulations were about quality control or simply a method of pushing women out of profitable work. The answer is likely both. You stop baking for a few days, let rumors die down, but you don't stop rebelling. You swap flour with a neighbor who owes you for midwifing who eats. You trade stitches for eggs. You offer an extra candle stump to the maid's wife in exchange for her silence. She takes it without a word. You both make it wrong. Then one day you get bolder. You forge a receipt. It's nothing. Just a scribbled mark on a torn bit of parchment pretending you've already paid the miller for the barley that says you owe. You show it to the steward's apprentice who squints at it, shrugs, and lets you pass. It works. You almost laugh. But you don't. Because this rebellion has a price. Everything does. You hear it in the village gossip sharpened like thorn. She's gotten proud that way. Carries herself like she owns the fields. Thinks she's clever. You watch clever girls always fall harder. Still you keep going. Quiet, steady. You teach your daughter how to stitch fast or how to pluck a chicken in under 5 minutes. How to hide spare candle wicks under a loose floorboard in the back corner. She asks why. You say, because I trust you. She glows. Later that week, the reeve inspects your home. He says it's random. You know it isn't. He eyes your bread. You offer him a slice. He bites, chews, says nothing, leaves. But as he goes, he knocks over the water pail by accident. You clean it without comment. You tell no one. That night, your husband complains about the stew being too thin. You say you had to feed the children first. He scoffs, but doesn't push. You've learned how to move around his moods like furniture too big, shit too solid to remove. At the hearth, your daughter hums one of the old songs low and sweet. You ask where she learned it. She shrugs. It was in my head. You smile. That's how it's like. The song. The scraps. The spark. There are no monuments to your defiance. No scrolls bearing the name. But the bread still rises. The fire still burns. And tomorrow, we'll save the best part of the stew for the neighbor's woman who hasn't eaten too long. That's rebellion too. It begins with a cramp. You're bent over pulling weeds from the edge of the turnip patch, and it hits low and sharp like a string being plucked too hard. You pause. You breathe. You wait for it to pass. It doesn't. You straighten slowly, pressing a hand against the bell. The dull rate is familiar. You've lived with it since you were 12, long before you knew what it meant, or why it came like clockwork, and you could even follow this story. Back inside, you pull the curtain across the sleeping mat, not for privacy, but for the illusion of it. You unwrap the rag you folded 3 times over each layer, stiff and stained. It smells of old blood and ashes. You rinse it in cold water, squeeze it dry, and tuck it back between your thighs, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Because it is. And yet, no one talks about it. Mainstream historical fact. Medieval women used cloth rags, moss, or wool as makeshift menstrual pads. These were washed and reused when possible, though privacy, sanitation, and pain relief were rarely accessible luxuries. Quirky tidbit. In some regions, women wore special belts or girdles to hold rags in place, often decorated with small religious charms. Protection meets superstition. Historians still argue whether menstruation was considered taboo among peasant women or just too common to fuss over. The written records come mostly from male clergy, who described it with fear, confusion, or outright disgust. But among women, there was just one more thing to manage while hauling firewood. The cramp worsens. You boil a bit of chamomile and chew on a piece of willow bark the way your grandmother taught you. You kill for a warm bath, but there's no time, no tub, no privacy. You sit by the fire knitting and pretending not to feel the throb in your spine. Your daughter asks if you're sick. You shake your head. It's just my blood leak, you say softly. She looks confused, then nods. Then returns to plucking feathers from the chicken you butchered this morning. You wonder if her blood has started yet. She's young, but not too young. You make a note to talk to her soon. Gently, honestly. Later that evening, a neighbor arrives red-eyed and out of breath. Her husband's been bleeding from his leg for 3 days. She says it like it's nothing like it's normal. You know better. You follow her across the village to a smoky, sagging hut, where her husband lies on the floor, pale and emaciated. His calf is swollen, his skin is stretched and hot. He winces when you touch it. You ask how it started. A scratch, she says. A scratch. You cut open the wound and let it bleed just a little. You pack it with moss ash and a poultice of honey and onion. You say a quiet blessing. You're not sure if it's for him or for yourself. Because here's the truth you never say out loud. You bleed once a month and nobody cares. He bleeds for 3 days and the whole village panics. The irony tastes like ash in your mouth. He survives. Barely. You return home to find your own cloth soaked through. You clean yourself in the dark, biting back the groan that wants to escape. Your husband is asleep. The children are curled in the straw peaceful. You lie down slowly, carefully. And just when you think sleep won't come, you remember what's waiting for you next week, blood letting. The priest says it keeps the humors balanced. The steward says it's good for women daily. You say nothing. Because who's going to argue with a man holding a dull knife in a bowl carved from bone street? Historical fact bloodletting was a common medieval medical practice used for everything from headaches to melancholy. Women were bled regularly as part of humor balancing, especially around their menstrual cycles. Quirky tidbit. In some areas, special bloodletting calendars were used to schedule bleeds on astrologically safe days, because nothing says medical science like consulting law. Historians still debate whether bloodletting had any therapeutic value. Most now believe it did more harm than good, but at the time, it was the closest thing to health care a peasant might receive from someone in the world. Your turn comes on a Thursday. You walk to the appointed hut. The cutter is a man with soft hands and tired eyes. He asks no question. He slices your arm near the elbow, and the blood runs slow at first, then faster. He watches the door. You watch the door. When it's done, he wraps your arm in linen rags and waves you off like someone dismissing a squad. You walk home dizzy. You've lost too much blood, but there's turnips to stew and a goat to chase and laundry to rinse in water that feels colder than snow. You press your palm to the door frame as you re-enter your hut steadying yourself. Your daughter glances up from the hut. You okay, Mama? You smile. Because that's what you say. And besides, tomorrow isn't a blood day. It's just washing. And who has time for weakness and their socks to scrub? It begins with a knock, and it's never good. The steward's apprentice stands in the doorway, fidgeting with a ledger too clean for his day. You've been summoned to the manor court, he says, right looking you in the eye. You blink your hands still wet from rinsing laundry. For what he shrugged. Bread weight discrepancy. Possibly slander. Maybe ale. You stare. That could be anything. Or nothing. It doesn't matter. If your name's on the list, you show up. So you wring out your hands, throw a shawl over your shoulder, and march down the lane toward judgment. Manor court is not as dramatic as it seems. No wig, no robe, no gavel. Just the Lord's reed and raised stool, painful of scribe, and crowded villagers pretending not to enjoy the show. It's like market day, except your reputation's the pig in the chopping block. Mainstream historical fact. In medieval rural communities, manor courts were held to settle local disputes, enforce feudal duties, and punish petty offenses, many involving women. Complaints about ale-quality gossip and failure to perform labor services were common. Quirky tidbit a woman could be fined for scolding too loudly, essentially for being publicly argumentative. Repeat offenders might be sentenced to wear a bridal cage-like device or sit in a ducking stool. All very dignified. Historians still argue whether these punishments were frequently enforced or just threats used to maintain order. Either way, the fear was real enough to keep mouths shut and heads bowed. You're charged faulty ale or unlicensed Bedtime. You resist the urge to laugh. The reeve asks if you brewed ale last Tuesday. Yes, you said. Did you sell it? No, you lied. There's a murmur from the crowd. The baker's wife raises an eyebrow from the back. The reeve squints at you like he's trying to read words you didn't write. There was a smell, he says slowly. A strong one. You glance around. You could argue. You could say half the village brews in secret. You could name names. But you don't. Because you understand something important, reputation is a currency, and yours is already thin. I'm sorry, you say so. He grunts. They fine you 2 pence more than you can spare. But not so much it ruins you. A warning, not a blow. Then comes the slander charge. Apparently someone overheard you saying the priest's sermons have less bite than the blind. You didn't say that? What you said was that he preaches like he's afraid of his own shadow. The reeve sighs. Did you insult the church? No, sorry. I insulted the sermon. The church is fine. It's a clever answer. Maybe too clever. But they let it go. You're dismissed. You walk home with mud on your head, and your pride bleeding slightly from your knees. The fine means 1 less chicken in the spring, or 1 less pair of shoes for your daughter next year. You sit down at your hearth, peel a potato, and try to forget the way the crowd leaned in from the ministry. That's when you hear the whisper. Be careful. They're watching you. It's your neighbor. She doesn't mean it cruelly. It's a glass. You know. That night you think about how easy the truth becomes thick. A bad batch of ale becomes a crime. A joke becomes slander. A ragged shawl becomes witching. You lie awake and count every time you've been noticed lately. The bread, the fever, the baby, the gossip. You can feel the village turn. Just a minute. Just a minute. Your daughter stirs beside you. In sleep she says your name. Close your eyes and whisper back to yourself. I'm mine. You're done. Because the court may find you. The reeve may speak. The priest may frown. But your name is still yours. Even if no one else remembers it. By dawn, you're stirring wort in the largest pot in the room. It smells rich and nutty. The bar is still releasing its sweet stink into the steam that curls around your face. This isn't breakfast. Business. The alewife's work. Done quietly, done early before the village is awake enough to ask questions or count barrels. You've done this for years. Learned it from your mother who learned it from hers. Brewed from rainwater, malt boiled over hearthstone heat, cooled in wide open pans covered in linen to keep the flies out. It's a science with no parchment, an art, with no name tag. You taste it with your finger. Still warm, still green, but promising. Mainstream historical fact. Brewing ale is one of the few economic opportunities available to medieval women. Many peasants, especially widows and single women, supplemented their household income by selling ale from their homes. Quirky tidbit. In some towns, official ale tasters were hired to go door to door and check the quality and strength of women's brews. If it failed inspection, the ale was poured out, and the woman was fined or shamed sometimes by having her brew publicly dumped. Historians still argue whether the eventual exclusion of women from brewing was driven by concerns over quality control or by growing male dominance in guild economies. But in the early medieval period, women brewers, alewives, were common and often essential to village life. You finish the boil, skim the froth, and pour the hot mixture into 2 casks lined with herbs marjoram if you have it. Sage if you don't. It'll sit there for a day, maybe 2 until it ferments just enough to satisfy a tired laborer or tempt a reckless woman. Later you'll serve it in wooden mugs to a quiet line of customers who won't meet your eye, but will hand over a coin and a pinch of salt or half a hen's egg in return. You won't call it business, but it is. That evening, a man knocks at your door, stranger, or close to it. You've seen him in passing hauling timber from the woods or mending carts near the man. He nods, smells the ale, and asks for a mug. You serve him. He drinks, smiles, says, "That's stronger than I expected." You say, "So am I." He laughs, leaves. You mark a tally on a scrap of birch bark. 2 more mugs tonight, and you'll have enough to trade for new boots for your daughter, if you're lucky. But here's where things get tricky. Because alewives have a reputation. A man brews, and he's a craftsman. You brew, and you're suspect. Too much profit, you're greedy. Too little, you're wasteful. Too friendly, you're a harlot. Too quiet, you're hiding something. Even the word alewife carries a sneer, as if women have no business in business, unless it's skin deep and tender. You hear the murmurs. She thinks she's clever. She doesn't ask permission. She's too independent. 2, always 2. So you do what clever women have always done and pretend not to hear. You tie your apron tight. You pour the mugs carefully. You compliment the worst tasting brew from the best connected wives. You smile at the taster when he passes and he attracts mud into your home and makes a mess of your head. And when your daughter asks if she can learn the trade, you pause. You look at her bare feet, smudged face by eyes, and you say, "Not yet," because you want her to have something else. Something more. Even if you can't learn it. That night, with the last dregs of ale settle in the cask, you sit by the fire and remember how this started. A few spare drinks, a borrowed pot, a cold day, and mouths to feed. No ambition, just survival. But survival done well enough becomes legacy. And legacy quiet, hot, unremarkable bubbles like water. Tomorrow you'll do it again. Not for fun, not for pride, just to prove that you can. You're sewing by candlelight when your daughter asks the question you've been dreading for years. Mama, am I old enough for a cap? You pause mid-stitch. The thread pulls tight. A simple piece of linen tied, or paint, sometimes dyed, sometimes plain. But here in your world, it's more than cloth. It's a signal, a flag of identity fluttering over the battlefield of peasant expectations. And your daughter barely passed her 12th winter once to wear. You study her face. She's taller this spring. Less knees and elbows, more steady gaze and clever tongue. The kind of girl who can gut a rabbit faster than her father and recite half the liturgical calendar from memory. And now she wants a cat. You know it. Slowly, we'll make one tomorrow. She beams, but deep down, you ache a little. Because once a girl puts on that linen cap, the world treats her differently, watches her differently. Mainstream historical facts. In medieval Europe, women's head coverings carried deep social and moral meaning. Married women were expected to keep their hair covered in public, while girls and widows had more flexibility, though custom varied by region, class, and even religious interpretation. Quirky tidbit. In some villages, a woman's cap could indicate not only her marital status, but also whether she was in mourning, expecting a child, or suspected of flirting too much at the mill. Historians still argue how much autonomy peasant women had, and how they dressed particularly in rural areas, with looser enforcement of church modesty codes. But most agree that clothing, especially headwear, was a subtle but constant tool for social control. You sort through your cloth scraps that night, selecting the least frayed piece for your daughter's cap. You soak it to soften it. Beat it flat with a wooden paddle. Cut it into a rough oval with your smallest shoes. By morning, it's ready. You sit her down by the fire, brush her tangled hair, and bind it gently into a knot. Then you tie the cap neither too loose nor too tight. She stands. She glows. And suddenly, she looks older. You remember your first cap? Your mother tying it with hands that shook from arthritis and rage at your father. You wore it proudly until the baker's son tugged it off in the dress and called you a boyfriend. You slapped it. You were fine for it. Now watching your daughter walk outside with a new winning crown, you wonder what her cap would cost her. That afternoon, you bring her with you to market. She walks half a step behind, quiet but observant. As you pass the weaver's stall, a boy glances her way just a moment too long. She notices, looks down. Her hand tightens around you. You stop by the cloth merchant. A frayed roll of green wool catches your eye, but it's priced too high. You shake your head and move on. Behind you, two women are whispering. That girl comes showing off with her cap. Too young. You watch her being troubled by harvest. You don't turn around. You don't need to. Later your daughter asks, did I do something wrong? And you say, they just forget what it was like. She seems unconvinced. That evening as you shell peas for stew, you tell her the truth. The cap doesn't mean you're a woman. It just means they'll treat you like that. She nods. And then she says, good. I'm ready. And you believe her? Mostly. At supper, your husband notices the cap for the first time. He grunts. Didn't know she was that old anymore. She doesn't flinch. You give him a look that says, choose your next words carefully. He says no more. Later, after the children sleep and the pig stops snuffling in the corner, you take your own cap off. Your hair falls in uneven waves, greasy and damp with sweat. You rarely wear it down anymore. But tonight you do. Just for a few minutes. Just to remember. Because the cap is more than a symbol, it's a sign. A warning. A shield. And sometimes, it's a whip. Your daughter will carry it now. But she's not alone. You'll be there, cap or no cap. Sewing the edges. Watching the eyes. Whispering the wrong. Because that's what mothers do. And one day she'll do the same. Someday. The bell tolls before dawn, loud and leaden, as if it's dragging the sun out of bed by the key. You rise before the children. Before the rooster. Before the pig has even remembered it exists. Today is not a rest day. It's a holiday. Which is different. You boil water, scrub your face, and wrestle your hair into the tightest bun possible, because if one single strand escapes under your cap, the priest's wife will give you that look. The one that says, "We see." You bathe your daughter with a damp cloth rub ash into her sleeves to hide the stains and tell your youngest to stop picking at the scab on his elbow. He picks it anyway. Blood seeps through the wound. You sigh and press a scrap of wool to it. God will forgive me. Mainstream historical fact. Church attendance was mandatory in many medieval villages. While men sat closer to the altar, women, especially peasants, were often relegated to the back or even outside during crowded services. Holy days were as much about surveillance as celebration. Quirky tidbit. In some regions, women who wore colors deemed too bold were fined or publicly shamed. A bright ribbon could be interpreted as prideful or even seductive, especially on feast days. Historians still argue how deeply peasant women internalized church teachings about obedience, humility, and sin. Sermons were often in Latin and literacy was rare. But iconography, ritual, and peer pressure did the job just fine. You walk to the church with the children trailing behind like crooked dots. Your husband is already there, seated with another man. He nods when he sees you. You don't nod back. He doesn't expect you to. Inside the church smells like smoke-damp stone, something sweet, like incense and mold. You find your spot on the back bench. Your daughter stands beside you, hands clasped, head bowed like you taught her. The priest speaks. You catch maybe a third of it, enough to know the topic is sin. Again. Again. Disobedience. Again. There's a long segment on you. Always in. She gets blamed for everything. You glance at your daughter. She's mouthing the words to the prayer eyes closed. You wonder what she believes. Then comes communion. You move forward slowly, avoiding eye contact, taking the wafer with an open palm. The priest doesn't look at your face. No does. But the priest's wife, oh, she sees you. Her gaze is sharp and silent, measuring. She's heard the gossip, the baking, the court summons, the girl with the cat. She leans toward you and murmurs, "We're watching." You smile soft and steady. So am I. After the service, the square fills with murmur and other groups. Children dart between ranks. Old men complain about the harvest. A boy tries to impress your daughter by doing the cartwheel and lands in a puddle. She laughs behind her sleeve. You're approached by Widow Alder. She asks if you can help with her aching joints. You nod. You'll bring her willow bark never too late. She thanks you like you've already had it. Then the priest's wife strides past. Her gown is clean and dark, her scarf tied perfectly at the nape of the neck. She says nothing. Just walks on stiff legs like the ground owes her something. You turn back to your daughter. Her smile is dim. She's watching the priest's wife walk away. Does she hate us, she asks. No, you reply. She just doesn't understand us, because we work, because we survive. That afternoon, you sit outside mending a hem while your daughter kneels beside the garden bed, weeding without complaint. The sun is set. The pig is snoring. Somewhere in the distance, the bell tolls again, halfway between threat and reminder. You whisper a prayer not to the God behind the altar, but to the saints beneath the soil. The nameless ones, the tired ones, the ones who are willing. You ask for strength, not grace, not purity, just strength. Because that's the only gospel you really trust. And that night, as you light the hearth and lay your children down and tuck your daughter's cap beneath her sleeping cheek, you feel it come. Not in heaven, but in her. The morning begins with feathers. Everywhere. One of the hens is dead torn open by a fox, probably, and its remains are scattered across the yard like a warning. You curse softly, grab a broom, and start sweeping before the children can see the worst of it. The pig, helpful as ever, tries to eat away. You shoo him away with your foot. This is not unusual. Death is a regular visitor in your life, always hungry, rarely polite. But today, you'll answer him differently. Today, you're going to the woods. Not to gather food or firewood or kindling for the never-satisfied heart. Today is for something older, stranger. Today is for the hedge. Like the literal hedges that separate your fields at the old kind. The invisible line between the village and what lives beyond it. You gather your pouch, carefully dried herbs, an egg you blew clean last week, a carved wooden charm your grandmother gave you and told you never to sell, not even for song. Then you braid your hair and tie a knot into the braid. 3 turns. Whispered rhyme. Just enough to make you feel brave. Mainstream historical fact. In medieval Europe, especially in rural areas, many women practiced forms of folk spirituality alongside or beneath their official Christian observance. These practices included herbal remedies, charms, seasonal rituals, and blessings passed down orally, often dismissed by the church as superstition or women's magic. Quirky tidbit. Some women were called cunning folk or wise women and were believed to have powers ranging from healing to divination. They were respected, feared, or tolerated depending on who needed what and how desperate they were. Historians still argue over where the line was drawn between acceptable folk healing and condemnable witchcraft. That line, as it turns out, was mobile vague and often moved when harvests failed and neighbors quarreled. They walk into the woods alone, not deep just far enough that the path disappears and the canopy muffles village noise into something dreamy. You find a tree with a split bark, the one shaped like a line. You whisper names. You don't know whose. Then you bury the egg. Not for magic. For memory. For the baby who didn't make it last summer. For the hen that died last night. For the part of yourself that sometimes forgets how to hunt. You sprinkle thyme over the soil. Then you hum. The melody isn't from church. It doesn't belong to anyone really. Just a tune your mother sang on a ground of flower. You never asked if it meant anything. You didn't need to. In your eyes, the wind shook. You feel love. Not that. Not here. Just connected. You return home with your pouch half empty and your heart hardly full. Your daughter asks where you are. You smile and say, I visited you. She asks, was there anything there you know? That afternoon, with her all-dark visits, hobbling on a cane carved from a branch older than the village church, you offer her the tea with promised meadow wine and 1 drop of wild honey. She drinks it slowly, then leans forward and whispers, you're your grandmother's blood. You don't answer. You don't have to. After she leaves you, tend the garden, rewrap your charms, and sew a small pouch for your daughter, just in case she ever needs to carry something no one else understands. That evening, the priest visits, not to condemn you, to ask for help. His niece is sick, fevered, delirious, and the apothecary is away. He fidgets in your doorway like a boy caught stealing apples. You say nothing. You gather thyme, elderflower yarrow, and one soft scrap of linen boiled clean in water and ash. You walk with him. You lay the cloth across the girl's forehead, brew the tea whispers soft and calm, while others looking. She sleeps, peaceful. The priest offers you a coin. You shake your head. You take your silence instead of sight. You walk home under a blue dusk sky, the kind that turns everything silver and makes even your hut look like something sacred. You step inside. Your daughter is waiting. Will you help me again? Yes. With herbs or prayers both. She considers this. That's the difference. You pause, then smile. That depends who's asking. Your elbow deep in curves when you touch my nose. No warning, no bell. Just the sudden clatter of boots and a voice shouting from the road. Open for towel. You wipe your hands on anything sour with milk and mash and glance around. There's nothing to hide exactly. But plenty you'd rather not have you pack. You open the door, and there it is. Plump as a roasted goose, ink-stained fingers holding the ledger like it's a weapon. He steps in without asking. Of course, any new pen since last quarter, he says. You shake your head. 2 died last August. He frowns and scribbles. You're not sure if he believes you. You're not sure if it matters. Then comes the cheese injection. He leans over your storage shelf and sniffs. Sniffs. You know, it's supposed to. He jots something down and adds, you know, peasant women aren't supposed to sell butter without taxes. You don't flint. I don't sell it, you say sweetly. You gift it. Sometimes. He doesn't laugh. Just glances at your daughter seated in the corner, pretending not to listen, and mutters, teaching her up. A new mainstream historical fact. In medieval England and across Europe, peasants, especially women, were taxed on everything from livestock to household goods, to the production of butter, cheese, ale, and textiles. Taxes were often enforced haphazardly, and were a significant burden on already struggling families. Quirky tidbit. Some tax records noted payments like 1 egg and a half-penny's worth of onion, or a kiss from the housewife, suggesting a system both ridiculous and intrusive. Historians still argue whether these taxes functioned more as income or as tools of social control designed less to raise revenue, and more to remind the lower classes of their place. For women, it often meant that their daily labor, so essential, was treated as suspect and thus controlled. The taxman finishes scribbling and moves toward the loom. This yours, he asks. It's part of the hearth, you say. Who spun this flax? You don't answer. He picks up the bundle of thread you've been preparing to trade. Overweight, he says. You raise your eyebrows. Since when is that a crime? It is when it's meant for market and not time. Ah, there it is. You're being accused, softly and directly, of trade outside your station. You'll owe 2 pence, he says, and a dozen eggs. You breathe through your teeth. That's half your winter stores. You don't argue. You nod slow and walk toward the coop. The eggs are still warm. You hand them over, gently watching as he wraps them in cloth before going. He turns to leave and pauses in your doorway. You do well to keep records, he says. Marks, tallies, something a steward could do. You smile, you say, where you tap your temple. He doesn't appreciate the joke. He walks off squashing your herbs under his boots. You close the door and sag against it. Your daughter says, that wasn't fair. No, you reply, it wasn't. She asks, why didn't you lie? You pause. How did you say? About what the hands? She grins. You don't. That night you open your secret stash. Your coins, your jewels, lists, scratched into bone etched in the back of broken slate tiles, hidden in your herb pouch. Every trade, every favor, every borrowed sickle and stolen apple and secret spoonful of wine. Your own ledger kept in whispers and scratches, because parchment costs more than honesty. You flip through the bits. One entry catches your eye. Gave Aldrich medals. She coughed less after. Refused payment. Gained favor. Another reaves wife candle stub in exchange for forgetting the butter. You run your thumb across the bone. It's smooth in places where you've touched it too often. You tuck it back beneath the hearthstone. Because one day, if they ever come for you properly, not just with ledgers, but with accusations, you'll need your own book of truth. Even if it's written in bone. The next morning, you go to the woods and bury 6 eggs in a row. Not because you believe it'll ward off the taxman, but because it might. And because sometimes you have to offer the earth something before it's taken. You've always known your place. At the hearth, at the wash basin, behind the plow if needed, behind your husband always. That's the rule. But today, you walk past the guild hall, not because you are someone, but because someone's been whispering your name there, little Matilda. I believe it fell sick last week. Her looms silent, her orders scattered. She has no apprentice, no daughter, no strong son. Just calloused hands now too weak to make the shot. So someone no one will say who told the guildmaster what she told him. Which is true. You can't. You do. Beautifully. The guilds don't care about beautiful. They care about boundaries. Still they let you in. Temporarily. And either stars must be close to the smell of wet wood and desperation. The moon waits like a question no one wants to answer. You sit. Adjust the threads. Tap the pedal. Begin. The loom hushes. The rhythm returns to you faster than you expected. You remember your mother's knee bouncing beside you, her voice whispering, "Don't fear." Coax. You feel her fingers in your hand. By dusk, you finish 2 pieces, neat and strong. You wrap them and hand them to the steward. He nods grudgingly. Mainstream historical fact. Though medieval guilds were male-dominated, women, especially widows, could sometimes inherit or temporarily operate businesses. In exceptional cases, skilled women became recognized craftswomen in textiles, brewing, or midwifery. But they were rarely granted full membership. Quirky tidbit. Some guilds allowed women to join only under very specific terms, such as paying double fees or swearing extra oaths in order to teach their craft to other women without permission. Historians still argue whether these exceptions empowered women or merely used them during labor shortages. Either way, female artisans were anomalous tolerated until no longer needed. You leave the guild hall quietly. No call for anything. Just a nod and a promise of we'll let you know. You walk home proud but cautious. Because nothing makes people whisper like a woman stepping outside her lane. The next day, a woman from the guild delivers a spindle to your doorstep. No note. Just the tool, as if to say continue with it carefully. You do. You spin at night after the chores are done and the children sleep. Your daughter watches. You know her trying. Her hands are clumsy. The thread snarls. She cries. You kiss her forehead and say, all good work begins with knots. The next morning, you find your work on the steward's table at market. It's labeled as Matilda's. No one looks at you. But one man with thin gray eyes like needles says, good thread this week. You know. That's good. You walk home lighter. Not because you've been recognized, but because you haven't. Because there's a power in being underestimated. That evening you hide your best spindle in a box of fire, just in case the guild changes its mind. Just in case the whispers become louder. Because you've seen it before a woman is needed, then she's noticed, then she's named, then she's punished. So you keep weaving in secret, at dusk, in silence. Because some legacies aren't written in stone or worn, around shoulders, across laps, passed down like whispered lullabies. And no guild charter can take that from you. You wake to silence. Your husband's not snoring. The pig's not moving. The rooster hasn't even called. It's too quiet. Then you feel an emptiness beside you. A hollow where your husband should be. You sit up part-ticking like a blacksmith's hammer. He's gone. But not far. By the time you throw on your shawl and stagger outside the neighbor's son, he's already running toward you, red-faced and breathless. There's been an accident, he says. Of course there has. You find your husband at the edge of the woods, moaning through his teeth, his leg twisted beneath him like a broken branch. A cart wheel snapped beneath him, and the ox predictably ran off. It always hated him. He can't stand, can't walk, can barely curse. You splint the leg with 2 branches and a length of fabric torn from your own apron. He hides. You ignore it. You call for help. The other men eventually arrive, lift him gently, carry him home. And just like that, you're a widow. Not legally? Not yet. But you know it's coming. The fever sets in by dusk. His breathing rattles, his legs swell. You boil every herb you know, press every cloth, whisper every prayer. He slips away by day. You scream, no last word. Just an exhale, he forgets to return. You sit beside him for a long time. The children sleep. The pigs snore. The fire burns low. And you think, now what mainstream historical fact, widowhood offered medieval women a rare moment of legal autonomy. A widow could sometimes own land, run a business, and make certain legal decisions, especially if she had sons underage or no surviving male relatives. Quirky tidbit. Some medieval widows became tavern keepers, midwives, or even unrelated professions considered unsuitable for married women, but tolerated in widows seen as past temptation. Historians still argue whether widowhood was a form of empowerment or simply a soft authority. The truth, as always, lies in the daily choices, no chronicle records. The relief comes to confirm your death. He asks if you will bury the shroud. You do. You stitched it yourself months ago, more superstition than preparation. Now it waits on the shelf like a quiet prophecy. They carry your husband to the churchyard, dig the shallow pit, lower him in. The priest mumbles the rites. The dirt falls. Your daughter cries. Your son is too young to understand. You kneel, press your hand to the soil, and say goodbye. Not to him. To the version of you that had no say. Because now you own the house, the field, the womb, and the death. The steward visits the next day. He eyes the livestock restored to the empty day. Do you plan to remarry? He asks. You smile. Not this way. He frowns. You meet a mailman on the pasture. You nod slowly. My son will be. He's 7. His name. You don't blink? He doesn't open. He marks the scroll. Walks away. And you, for the first time in years, stand up a little straight. There's talk in the village, of course. Some say you poisoned him. Others say you're cursed. A few suggest you bewitched the wheel. But mostly they're just watching, waiting to see what you do next. You keep your head down. You sow the turnip seeds yourself. You fix the roof. You spin. You trade. You bake. And one day the guild steward stops by and asks, can you fulfill Mathilde's last order? You know. Good, he says. We'll pay your son. You smile. Of course. That night you teach your daughter to write her name in ashes on the hearthstone. She doesn't ask why. She just writes it again and again until the stone turns gray beneath her finger. And you say softly, you'll need to know. For later. Because widowhood may be lonely. It may be heavy. But it's yours. And in a world where so little ever is, there ain't something. The sky is ash gray when the frost comes in. And the soft frost, the killing frost. By dawn the garden has withered. The last beans blackened on the vine. Turnip leaves curled like fists. The thatch on your roof is a veil of ice. Everything feels brittle and unreal. You know what this means. So does the village. It's going to be a hungry winter. You count your stores. 3 sacks of oats, 2 of barley, a few onions, a wheel of hard cheese already spread. The dried peas are safe for now. The root cellar smells of damp earth and ghosts of last year's knowledge. You ration carefully, but famine has no end. It kicks in the door anyway. 3 weeks in the first child dies. Not yet. Not one. She belonged to the tanner's sister. Just stop eating. couldn't keep water down, too small to survive a world this cold. The village bell tolls once. So, unceremonious. You stay quiet. You cut thinner slices of bread. You stretch broth with more water and fewer bones. Still, it's not enough. Then comes fire. Not heaven. Wood. A spark from the hearth catches on the drying clay. Not heaven. The children try to beat it down, but flames are fast and fleeting. By the time you arrive, the corner of the roof is gone. Gone. You fall to your knees, not out of grief, but because your knees give out. You've eaten half rations for too long. Mainstream historical fact, medieval peasant families lived close to the edge of survival. Early frosts, fire, and failed harvests could plunge entire villages into famine. Women often bore the brunt rationing food, feeding children growing without them seeing. Quirky tidbit. Some women hid dried beans in their sleeves during winter church services, stealing them back from the communal tithe basket to feed their own families. Historians still argue how widespread peasant starvation was in non-flooded years. But nearly all agree that women's labor planning and sacrifice kept entire communities from collapsing during seasonal disasters. You rebuild with thatched roofs and stubbornness. You move the family to the sleeping loft or the smoke room. The children sleep close together, sharing heat. You lie on your side, watching your daughter's breath fog in the cold air. You wet the coffee. And a sick cough, a suspicious one. You check their foreheads, warm but not hot. The youngest is pale. You give him honey water. You whisper to the fire. You whisper to the walls. You whisper to the saints, even though you're not sure they're listening. Then a caravan arrived. Traders from the coast, bringing salted fish, dried apples, and news of grain shipments delayed by snow. The prices are high. Too high. You bring a bundle of hand-spun thread. Offer it for $2 million. They laugh. You offer a week of memory. They shrug. You offer your last wedge of soap wrapped in linen and pride. They accept. You feed the children slowly. 1 bite, 2 sips, wait. No one vomits. You exhale. You sit by the fire and sew with trembling hands, trying to remember what hunger didn't feel. Then comes the riot. It begins with a whisper. The reed has extra stores. By dusk, it becomes a roar. You don't join the first roar. You stay back, watching, waiting. But when they break into the manor's cellar and spill grain across the floor like it's justice, you step forward. You don't take a bath. You take a handful. And that's enough. You bake it that night with a hard, smoky bread. It tastes like guilt. Also like revenge. The next morning, the wind limps through the village, bruised but alive. No punishments, no arrests, just warnings. Everyone's in it. The church preaches peace. But the fields are still empty. The trees are still bare. The hunger hasn't left. And neither have you. You walk past the ruins of the manor wall and think, we were starving. And we still chose not to kill. That means something. It doesn't bring back the girl who died. It doesn't mend your roof. But it matters. Because even in famine, even in fire, you didn't burn down each other. You just survived. Together. The hearth crackles again, not something fast. You've rebuilt the roof, patched the wall. The garden's green, clear. The children sleep without coffee or curled like roots in the warm silence. But tonight, it's not the weather or hunger that fills your thoughts. It's stories. You sit by the fire screen in your hand, and your daughter leans against your side with that look, equal parts curiosity and weariness. The day's done. The chores are finished. Her fingers are raw from nettle twine, and her eyes heavy with smoke, but she says it anyway. tell me to. And so you do. Not from the Bible, not from the priest's scrolls. Your stories live in the corners of memory passed from mothers to daughters like secret seeds tucked into hands. You tell her of the woman who sowed clouds into the sky, of the old hag in the woods who made soup from shadows, of the maiden who tricked death 3 times while pretending to be a pig. She laughs, the kind of laugh that doesn't come often anymore. Mainstream historical fact. In pre-literate societies, storytelling was one of the primary means of preserving knowledge, customs, and cultural identity. Peasant women passed down folk tales, herbal lore, seasonal rituals, and survival wisdom orally at hearths, bedsides, and fields. Quirky tidbit. In some regions, specific stories were reserved for certain times of the year. Harvest tales, winter ghost stories, spring rivers. Some midwives even whispered old lines during births to guide the baby's spirit in. Historians still argue whether oral traditions held consistent form or morphed with each telling. But they all agree that these stories shaped entire worldviews, especially for those who could not read and would never be written about. Your daughter listens wide-eyed. Then she asks, did the cloud sewing woman really exist? You pause. Of course you say, she lives in the sky still. That's why clouds move. She considers this, nods, believes. Tomorrow you'll teach her how to weave rush mats. Next week how to trim a goat's hooves without getting kicked. But tonight is for myth, for memory. You take the old clay figure from the shelf, along with no name, just a faint smile, and a hand on the belly. Your mother used to set it near the fire when someone was sick. You do the same now, not for healing, but for comfort. You tell your daughter she watches over you, like a saint she is. Like something older you say. She doesn't question it. The pig snorts in its sleep. The wind taps the window like it's lost. You throw another stick on the fire, and the flame hisses like it's whispering secrets. Your daughter tells you a story next. It's silly, about a fox who steals shoes and marries a goat. You laugh. It feels strange, like opening a door you forgot existed. You tell her to remember it, to tell it to someone someday. Not just for fun, but because it will keep something in your mind. She asks, what? And you say, us. You rise, stretch your sore back, and tuck the children into their straw beds. You kiss their foreheads one by one. As you lower the curtain and sit back by the hearth, you whisper a line from one of the oldest tales. You know, so long as one voice remembers, the woman is never lost. And tonight, there are 2 voices in this house. You catch your reflection in a puddle just for a moment as you pass the well with your bucket, and the sight gives you pause. Your face is no longer the one you remember from earlier. It's weathered brown from sun and smoke lined where laughter used to live. There's a tooth missing and your left eye squints slightly and your mouth looks just wide. You crouch at the well and touch your cheekbone and your vanity and its breathe. When did this happen? Your daughter runs past with her shawl flying a shadow about a window of paper. You smile. And you cough. It's dry deep from the chest. It doesn't stop there. You spit into the grass. There's a trace of blood. Nothing to worry about. Probably. But as the days pass, the aches last longer. Your fingers are stiff in the morning. Your back seizes if you lift too quickly. Your breath fogs even when it's warm out. You try not to limp. You try not to groan. But your daughter hears it. Mama, are you old now? And she asks, one evening watching you wince as you stir the stew. You chuckle. Not yet. I just wince. Mainstream historical fact. Peasant women in medieval Europe often aged rapidly due to hard labor, malnutrition, frequent childbirth, and lack of medical care. Many were considered elderly by their mid-30s, and few live beyond 50. Quirky tidbit. Some communities mark a woman's age less by her actual years and more by whether she had teeth left. The toothless were often seen as old, even if they were only in their 30s. Historians still argue whether peasant aging was primarily physical or culturally accelerated more by hardship than by time itself. Either way, most women wore their years like cloaks they couldn't take off. You sit by the fire and feel every bone in your feet hum with tiredness. Your hair's graying at the temples. You don't mind. It matches your new habit of forgetting words mid-sentence. Your fingers cramp and spin. Your knees creak when you need to plant the early veins. Your vision blurs when the light fades. But still you do the work. Because the work doesn't care how old you are. It just needs doing. At markets, someone calls you a crone. Half joking, half cruel. You don't know. Because when people stop seeing you as young, they stop seeing you as dangerous. That has its uses. No one notices when you barter smile, or slip extra clothes into your basket, or ask one question too many. You become part of the furniture of the village. Unremarkable, invisible, free. Your daughter brushes your hair when you've been carefully tending it. You should rest more, she says. You nod, but you don't. Because every time you lie down, your body looks a new way. Every time you sit, you notice how hard it is to get back up. You chew on boiled roots. You drink elder tea. You hum old songs that seem to taste like memory. You walk slower, but you walk. And when your son, 12, now asks if he can take over the barley plot for you, he grins like it's Christmas. You sit nearby and pretend not to watch. But you watch. You watch your children work. You watch the stew bubble. You watch the goat sleep and the pig try to steal her hay, and the shadows grow longer each day. And then one night, you look at the sky and realize you're the village elder now. No parchment, no title, no bell. Just a woman and 1,000 whispered truths curled into her tongue. And the girls come to you. They always do. Asking which herb stops bleeding. Asking how to say no without saying it out loud. Asking what it's like to bury a child. You answer. You hold their hands. You pass the spindle. You pass the song. You pass the story about the fox and the goose. You forget why it's funny halfway through and you laugh anyway. Because you're theirs now. And you were never meant to last forever. Only long enough to make sure they do. There's a knock on the door. A soft one, polite, with just enough weight to suggest bad news dressed up in marriage. You open it and find the priest standing there, eyes downcast, hands folded like a penitent boy. There's been a death, he says. You already know who. Old Martha, the woman who once cured your son's fever with a bark tea. The one who tied charms to your door when your husband died. The one who never smiled unless it meant something. You knew she was proud. You'd seen the way she stared through people like that. But you thought you'd have time. You always think you'll have time. I was hoping the priest asked carefully when he helped prepare her. Please, lay her out. Wash the body, comb the hair, wrap the limbs so they don't stiffen quickly. You nod. Of course. You gather your things, linen, soap, herbs. You tie your shawl a little tighter and step out into the gray morning. The hut is cold, but in temperature doesn't feel. As if someone left the door open to another world and forgot to close it. You kneel by the bed. Marta's hands are folded, but her jaws slack. You tuck it closed gently with a strip of cloth. You hum as you work, not a song, just a low sound to fill the silence. You clean her face, brush the yellow from her fingernails, tuck lavender between her palms. She smells faintly of dried rosemary and damp wood. You whisper, "Well done," as you tie the burial shroud. Mainstream historical fact, medieval burial preparation, is often the duty of women in the community. They cleaned and wrapped the body's lead remnants and lit vigil candles. In many villages, these were unpaid but deeply respected roles, quiet acts of care at the edge of life. Quirky tidbit. Some believed if a woman died with her mouth open, her soul hadn't left properly, and it could wander looking for another body to enter. So the mouth was gently tied shut with linen until buried. Historians still argue whether this work was seen as sacred or simply another extension of female domestic labor. But among women, it was often an honor passing the body from the hands of the living into the arms of the unknown. The next morning, the whole village gathers. Even the weaver, even the blacksmith who once called her a witch. The priest stumbles through the songs, but the women carry the rhythm. Their voices weave beneath the Latin softer organ. They sing a song that Marta taught them about a bird who flies backward at dusk, guiding souls to rest. You walk beside the stretcher, not because you were asked, because you belong there, at the edge, and in between. When the earth is shoveled back over her, you kneel again and press your palm flat to the soil. Your daughter does the same. Later that night, you light a single candle. You sit by the hearth and pull out a box made of bone. Inside scraps of string, a lock of your mother's hair, a spindle worn smooth from decades, a broken comb. You take the spindle and give it to your daughter. Yours now, you say. She doesn't ask why. She just takes it. She turns it over in her hands, and you watch her face go still and not know what it means. She feels it. The weight, the memory, the responsibility. You humble her. She joins her. Then as the fire crackles low, she asks, "When you die, am I preparing you like mother?" You laugh softly. "Of course." She takes her hand. "You need to tie you up. You will look like I'm about to complain." She giggles. But then she leans into your shoulder and says, "You won't be forgotten." And that more than any tombstone, more than any sermon, is your legacy. You took a strand of hair behind her ear. Neither will you, because the work never ends. But neither does the story. The frost returns, this time gently. It covers the field in silver lace coats your windows, and the thin veins of ice kisses the pig's snout, and your daughter's braid with equal indifference. You wake slowly now, not because you're lazy, but because your body insists on it. Each joint unfurls like old patchwork. Each breath reminds you that lungs are muscles, and muscles grow tired. You no longer touch water. Your son does. He's taller than you are, strong as his father was, and calm. Kind. You taught him that. You don't grind grain anymore. Your daughter insists on doing it. Her bread still cracks, but her hands are steady and her eyes are quiet. She ties her cap now without needing a minute. She asks fewer questions and answers more. You watch her from the corner of the room beside the fire, sewing a final quilt. It's not pretty, just warm. A patchwork of old tunics and even older rags, stitched with thread too thin for pride and too strong to play. You sew in silence, letting the fabric tell its own story. Every now and then, she glances over, just to make sure you're still breathing. You smile. Yes, you are. Mainstream historical fact. Elderly women in medieval villages often moved into symbolic roles of quiet authority. They taught skills passed on oral history and cared for younger children. Some served as midwives here, or wise women until their final days. Quirky tidbit. In some places, Older women were affectionately nicknamed time wives, not for being married, but for having seen many seasons. Their word held weight in village disputes, even if they held no official title. Historians still argue whether old age was revered or simply tolerated in peasant life. But within homes, within families, the eldest woman often became the quiet axis around which the rest still turned. Today a neighbor's daughter comes knocking. She's frightened. There's blood, she whispers. You nod. You take your pouch. You take your spindle, your other one, the one that's not for blood. And you walk to the girl's home step by careful step, feeling every stone and clod of earth beneath your feet. Inside, the girl is young, pale, knees drawn to her chest. Her mother is wringing her hands in the doorway. You wash your hands. You kneel beside the girl. And you begin. Hours pass. The baby is born, healthy, screaming. You wrap it in cloth and hand it to the mother who's weeping now. Her daughter falls asleep exhausted but safe. You step outside. The cold slaps your cheeks. You don't know. Your daughter is well. You press the bloodied cloth into her hands. She doesn't flinch. Later at home, she whispers, "It was your last, wasn't it?" You nod. "It's mine now," she says. She doesn't smile. She knows. That night, she puts you to bed. Not because you ask, but because she notices. She tucks the quilt around your feet and brushes your hair with fingers that have become yours. And then, without being told, she begins to hum. Not a hymn, not a lullaby. Just the tune you've always hummed at the heart. The one that held the walls together through winter, through childbirth, through silence, through joy. You close your eyes, and you rest. Not because the work is done, but because it will be, now by someone else, and you've earned this sleep. Word count 101. Now the room is quiet. The fire has burned low, but the warmth still lingers like breath against the skin. The voices of the dead have softened into memory, and even the pig, now old and snoring gently, has fallen into rhythm with the stillness. You lie back not in a bed of feathers, but of straw woven thick familiar. Every ache in your body hums in tune with the heart. You hear the creak of the rafters, the drip of the water outside the window, the steady breathing of someone alive curled in your heart. Everything is slower now. The air moves like honey. The shadows no longer start. A comfort. In this quiet, the stories you've carried stitched into bread crusts, into bone combs, into lullabies safe. Remember, you've worked hard. Too hard, maybe. And not in vain. Because now someone else hums the tune. Someone else sews the cloth. Someone else whispers a story by firelight. And so you let go. No longer. Just finger by finger, thought by thought, until even your breath fades into the warmth of the room, still here, but not alone, not anymore. Sleep comes not like a fall, but like a tide rising soft, steady. You don't resist. You drift. And just before you go under, a voice quiet small says, "Good night."